episode of XenoChat. I am one of your hosts, Tyler, along with Justin.
Hey guys.
Alright, we got a few guests with us today. First up, we have B.
Howdy.
And we have Nick.
Hello.
And we have a guest here that will introduce our topic for the day, and that is Anthony. Hello, Anthony.
Hello, and welcome to XenoChat. Today we are going to be discussing a very interesting topic, I would say. Something came out recently, a game very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. It is a game where you spend most of your time breaking off parts of large creatures to make them easier to hunt and or defeat, sometimes capture. That's right, we're talking about Monster Hunter. We're not talking about Xenogears, we're talking about Monster Hunter.
Oh, we are talking about Xenogears.
I mean, we were talking about a game that was on Wii U, and Xenogears wasn't on Wii U, so yeah.
I'm talking about Xenogears. If that pun is painful for you to hear, I want you to know it brings me just as much agony to say it as it does for you to hear it.
Well, I'm leaving the
Now,
Agony or joy?
I'll take the blame. It was mine.
Yeah, Nick came up with that one. But honestly, like, that was the start of the entire, like, premise behind this episode. And it just kind of waterfalled and cascaded down from there. And we realized that Monster Hunter and Xenoblade Chronicles X and a couple of other things, games entries in the Xeno franchise, have some things in common with Monster Hunter. So, this April Fools, please enjoy your Monster Hunter tie-in episode.
I just want everyone to know that I sought out our communities for this podcast, our community's utmost Monster Hunter experts, and we couldn't get Chris on, so we had to get Anthony instead. So,
listen, and I'm flattered that you think I'm an expert, but truthfully, I am a new world hunter, meaning I jumped in at World, and I've played Rise, and I have played Wilds, but if you ask me to go to, the games prior to World, Monster Jank, can't do it.
Tough.
I tried.
It's someone who started with Try and 4 generations. I
respect the shit out of you. I respect the shit out of you.
I'll just let you know, I don't remember much about them, and I know in Try I just did not get incredibly far either. I think it was like, I know I had fought and captured a monster or two, but I didn't get, like, I was doing it solo back then, and I didn't understand.
I honestly don't have too much experience with Monster Hunter. I did play 3 Ultimate on Wii U back in the day for a bit, but I genuinely couldn't tell you a whole lot about that game because I just don't remember because it's been so long.
Yeah, I played a little bit of World, and that's about it.
Yeah, I played a lot of World. I mean, I think the craziest decision involving Monster Hunter I made for me at the time was I actually, on the day that 4 Generations came out, the same day as Majora's Mask 3D, and before you freak out on me, I knew my brother was going to pick up Majora's Mask anyway. So Monster Hunter. Yeah, so I was like, I really want to give Monster Hunter another shot, and people say this is looking like it's going to be a great one, and so I did, and I was like, I got to play both, but like I said, I knew that my brother was already going to pick up Majora's Mask.
I still see people claim that one as like one of the best in the series. It's
weird. Like, people love that one. Like,
what generations
people grew up with. Oh yeah, 4 Generations.
Okay.
So what are these connections that you guys see between Xenoblade and Monster Hunter?
Giant monkeys, I swear.
We're gonna start with the obvious one. Let's start with monkeys.
Oh my god, I just died from that stupid monkey on X the other day.
So the Xeno games, particularly the Xenoblade games, have big monkey in them, all of them, and they are usually optional encounters. The exception being 3, where you can just find them chilling in the sea, but I think you don't have to. I think you can actually take them down prior to endgame. But while these monkeys are the size of King Kong, Monster Hunter may not have a colossal sized monkey, but it could absolutely take the monkeys in Xenoblade on at least an equal footing, if not take them down. We're talking about Rajang. Rajang is a monster. Rajang is the physical embodiment of disrespect. It does not have any problem beating the ever-living crap out of you, and then...
Can I put an analogy in there?
Yeah, you know what? I'd love it if you did.
I'm sure everyone has seen the Avengers when Hulk smashes, Loki.
Oh,
that.
Oh yeah.
That.
Yeah, no, that's an accurate. Yeah.
That.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, we're on the same page. Excellent.
We're absolutely on the same page. Like that's the average Rajang hunt. So
I would say that it's kind of funny too, because it would be kind of a similar way, but the monkeys, like your territory Rotbarts or your Hayreddens in the Xenoblade games, one of their big things is if you don't know about them, you'll be in the part of the field that they just happen to come through, and they fuck up your day like basil geese.
It's on site.
Yeah.
It's exactly, and with Rajang, it's on site.
Basil Juice. How do you pronounce his name again? I don't remember.
Beetlejuice. We've just been calling him Beetlejuice.
Yeah, we call him Beetlejuice, but it's Basil.
Anyway, that's the one that came to mind. But Rajang is in a similar vein, I feel like.
Yeah, if they see you, that's basically it. But tuck your head between your legs, kiss your ass goodbye. Rajang is so disrespectful that it hunts elder dragons for food. Elder dragons, for those who do not know, are the Monster Hunter equivalent of kind of like minor gods. They are living forces of nature. So wherever they appear, the ecosystem kind of goes all out of whack and haywire because their presence has a drastic effect on it. The one in particular that we're referring to is Kirin. Kirin's presence causes thunderstorms and lightning storms. So Rajang hunts Kirin for fun. Horn. Well, for fun, but also for food, because it will break off its horn, and Kirin resembles a unicorn. For those of you who are uninitiated,
it's a very nice, majestic unicorn, by the way.
It's majestic as fuck. But so it breaks off its horn, eats it, and then I'm not making this up. It goes Super Saiyan. Like it genuinely, its fur goes from
yellow,
black to gold, and it is like sparking with electricity. It genuinely, and it fires energy beams. Listen to me talk.
Bleams, yeah.
It fires energy beams from its mouth, and then even after that, it has one more transformation where it just goes into like this full-on rage mode. So it's this crazy mixture of like, what if Saiyan monkey, but also just pure disrespect and just pain. But yeah, so that's the first similarity, is both of these franchises have monkeys, and both of these franchises, their monkeys will ruin your day, especially if they see you.
I was going to say, it's kind of funny, but for the Xenoblade X fans out there right now, Kirin actually, would obviously have some resemblance to the Progans from Xenoblade X, for instance. There's plenty of other like Kirin-esque creatures in the Xenoblade franchise as well. But yeah, just throwing that in there.
Like, as you guys are like throwing these names out, I've just been kind of like looking them up, and I'm finding that Kirin, it looks like it's based off of a Chinese chimera creature from mythology. So like, it kind of doesn't surprise me that we'll see a lot of monsters like that in Japanese media.
There's a lot of similar inspirations for the monsters in Monster Hunter. And a lot of them come from Japanese and Chinese mythologies and things like that, as well as other mythologies around the world, of course.
Just something I remember mentioned.
I think I remember reading that for Monster Hunter Rise, they took like mostly inspiration from what are they called? Yokai and various different Japanese mythological creatures that they kind of adapted and added features to, and they made it their own, but their base were yokai for some of their monsters.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I do have to say about this franchise. Love it or hate the gameplay. The design of these creatures that you're going toe to toe with is stellar. It is.
I would say I would even go one step further and say the attention that they put, the detail they put into making sure these monsters behave in a way that feels like it fits within the ecology of the world is fascinating. It's like
they're very good at what they do.
Very in depth in a way you don't see in just a lot of games.
And you can really tell that they put a lot of time and effort and love into each creature that they put out there, which is why bodying them in 5 minutes in some cases is so funny.
And sad in a way.
And yeah, a little bit, depending. Like, there have been times where I've been playing Wilds and I'm like, man, I am just bullying the fuck out of this thing that is like 5 times my size.
They do give you plenty of reason to not want them to be around.
Let's see. It says here in our notes that we should talk about Zinogre. Nick, you would know better than I. Is there a monster in the Xeno franchise that Zinogre kind of reminds you of, or anything like that?
I have to actually think on it because it's been.
Because I've been trying to think on it too. What kind of comes to mind? Like, it's funny because like he does very much like look like a creature
Wolves.
you could.
Wolves,
yeah, I was gonna say he looks like he could be like an alpha wolf or something like that.
Yeah, like in Xenoblade, like just the token wolf creatures are usually the wolves. This is kind of funny that we went this route for this because I've been thinking about us doing like a beast of Xenoblade at some point in the future anyway, because I just think that how much detail they put into them is fascinating anyway. Like, just into making every single one of them unique in some way. But yeah, like, that's the first one that comes to mind as a Wolf. But you actually, I was unprepared for this question, so that's the best I have off the top of my head. I'm sure there's something else I'm, like, maybe not thinking of right now, because Wolves are a very minor enemy, typically.
Yeah, they are.
And it just sounds like...
Unless you're playing one of their alphas.
And it just sounds like Xenogears.
Yeah, but there's that.
Yeah,
but
I thought you were saying Xenogears when you were doing them being cheeky.
Xenogear.
Yeah, Xenogear. Yeah.
Xenogear.
Yeah, Xenogear.
Yeah.
It tickles whenever I say it. I don't know why.
Xenogear has kind of got like a lot more in Monster, like has a lot more majesty to it. Like, I mean, he's a very much more a higher tier enemy in the frame of Monster Hunter than he would be in, because he's a flagship, exactly.
Yeah. And for those who do not know, flagship means the poster child of a game. So, in the United States, unfortunately, the poster child has been Rathalos for since the beginning and since the first game. But in Japan, the flagships have typically been the ones on the cover art. So, for example, Zinogre, big blue wolf dog that's electrical. He's, I believe, one of the 3rd generation flagships. Nergigante was the flagship for World. Velkhana was the flagship for Iceborne. So,
I know the main flagship for like Tri was like Plagiacris, but yeah.
Yes, I do remember that cover art as well. That's the
Plagiacris is the water one. Yeah,
I think that one. I think that's the one that just got teased in the most recent trailer, and everyone's
I don't think he's been back since. Yeah, from what I know.
a lot of people are losing their minds right now because like there's a possibility of a return to underwater combat, but I digress.
It was certainly a thing. If you haven't
really
tried it was definitely a feel.
So jumping back to our notes, I just wanted to mention real fast because I know sometimes we talk about merchandise, and since we're doing a little Monster Hunter takeover,
decent segue.
So, there are like these little Transformer Monster Hunter like figurines that you can get. I don't remember what site has them.
I mean, you can get some of them on Ami from time to time and stuff, but I think
that's probably where I saw them.
They're obviously going to be Bandai too, so there's that.
Right.
I was going to say it's funny that like just to trail off here just for a second to mention, but my friend that I just had over is big into like at least like some of the figure like action figure collection a little bit, but usually stays like pays attention to those circles and informed me that there are apparently also Zoids that had a crossover with Monster Hunter recently.
Yeah, you know what?
Just
I think
Gundam?
I did see something like that.
I've seen the transforming Rathalos like the Transformers, and well, I just said Gundam earlier, didn't I? No, I've seen like the transforming Rathalos Transformers that are really cool too. But yeah, I wasn't aware until like today that Zoids was also a crossover.
Yeah, it's wild, like how big this franchise actually is, and has like how many crossovers it has. But yeah, there are toys that like transform into like robotic versions of the hunters, and then into like into the monster forms, and it's really cool because I believe that when they transform into the robotic forms of the hunters, it vaguely resembles the armor that you get from carving. Yeah, to a degree. I mean, obviously, there's only so much you can do with a transforming toy, but still, it's what they have managed to do is pretty impressive.
They do a pretty cool approximation as someone who has seen the Transformers ones going around. Especially like even lately, there's been some Rathian and Rathalos ones here lately on pre-order and such that I've come across myself.
And you know, robots are always it's really funny. Like sometimes I'll forget that like robots are like such a big part of the Xeno franchise. And then like suddenly there'll be robots and I'll be like, oh yes, that's right, Takahashi directed this game. Like what was it? Where it just was like everything was normal, then suddenly robots. I want to say it was Xenoblade Chronicles 3, where like didn't feel like there were robots.
Like mechs being involved too, definitely kind of like
it was 2. Yeah.
Big surprise later. It was like, oh, actually giant mecha are here too.
Yeah, that's right. It was 2 where I was just like, no, yes, that's right. I forgot. There are always going to be mecha. And that's something about the Xeno franchise that I've always like high key loved is they don't overdo it with the mecha, but what they give you is just right. And it always
like a good build up.
I love the designs of the
mecha.
I
will say, like speaking of just like the robots and the merch, I mean, for one, they are going to reprint the one kit from Xenoblade X, which is lovely. But
that's awesome.
Also, we need more. Give me more.
It's up for pre-order now.
Yeah, give me more kits though. I want more kits.
Yeah, definitely. Kits are great.
Spells in this game. Give me skulls of them.
Yeah, give us the new. Give us Reisvelg. Give us the Lila. Give us the Ares. You know, give us Inferno and Amdusius.
Hell yeah. Give us Metal Face as a kid. That'd be sick.
Oh my god, awesome. That'd be so fucking cool.
And is it Eagles Yaldabaoth? Yeah, give us that one too. Eagles is awesome.
Every time I go to Planet Gundam, I see the siren, and I'm like, is this going to be like where I finally like build a model, and then I chicken out every time because I'm a coward. I
wouldn't say Siren's the one to start with, but I get you.
Probably not. It looks really complicated.
Yeah, it's daunting for it's not a beginner kit really. I don't feel like.
Probably not, but my god, does it look majestic as fuck.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
But Monster Hunter.
But back to Monster Hunter, yeah.
Jumping back to sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, you're good. You're good.
Had to goon over the bots for a second. So one of the major draws for me to Monster Hunter is just the sheer ridiculousness of the weapons that you have the options of choosing from to go out and fight beasties. So I had a fun realization that some of the Xeno characters, they seem to have been playing a little Mon Hun on the side and taken up some arms in solidarity with their Monster Hunter main equivalents. So when they first showed off Senna in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I saw that she wields a giant hammer, I was like, she is a girl after my own heart, because I am a hammer main, and nothing makes me happier than taking big bonk stick and smashing enemies' faces in with it, and it's just so satisfying. So it brought me great joy to see that if I wanted to, I could have Senna just take control of the party and then just start bonk, bonk, bonk.
I will also say one thing I love about both of these franchises is, and this is true about a few things, but very much a Monster Hunter thing, very much a thing you see in a lot of these Xenoblade games, and just any of the Xeno games really, but I feel like a lot more in Xenoblade is transforming weapons, and Senna's hammer turning into just a ball she can throw or a weight she can lift too. There's a lot of transforming weapons in Monster Hunter as well, like between Charge Blade, Switch Axe, the Gun Lance.
The Gun Lance.
I was trying to think
of a character in the Xeno franchise that uses anything even that remotely resembling the Gun Lance. But when I think about it,
it's Ryan.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Really?
That is a gun lance. That's like a pile bunker lance kind of thing.
Like a pike. I think
it's called a gun lance. It is I even I fact checked myself right before we started. I'm like, they called it a gun lance because they don't ever hardly say it. But yeah, I mean,
you see, I'm glad you mentioned that because I never played as anyone other than Shulk because I just couldn't get the handle for anyone other than Shulk. I don't know. I got used to him, and then that was it. So I would always see what Ryan was carrying, and I was like, "This just kind of feels like a big shield. It looks and like he's just running defense, which is fine. But I never realized it was a gun lance. That's cool as shit.
Yeah, they actually do call it a gun lance.
They call it a gun lance. It kind of looks like a Gundam pile bunker or even an Armored Core pile bunker kind of thing. But yeah, no, it's referred to as a gun lance, and I think that passes. I was gonna say that reminded me. Well, I guess we can go kind of down the list anyway. I'll let you get back to it if you'd like.
Sure.
I want to also mention one more thing because I think this could be an interesting topic to touch on.
Please.
It's just how both. Okay, I like I said, I don't know that much about Monster Hunter, but one thing I do remember from the games that I played is the ways in which the game telegraphed attacks,
yes,
and whether or not an attack was effective, and the way it lets you know that you're dealing big damage on a monster. And I always thought that was really neat in Monster Hunter. And Xenoblade kind of has something similar, but it's a little bit more subtle. In Blade 2, for instance, and X is very good about this too. If you notice, when you're starting to really deal a lot of damage in Blade 2, it makes a slightly different sound and the screen shakes a lot more.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I always thought that was super sick. Especially when you're fighting the big boys later on. And then in Xenoblade X, when you're doing overdrive and you're dealing big damage, you're starting to see the giant white slashes on enemies. I always thought that was cool. And it kind of reminded me.
I did too.
And that kind of reminded me of some of the ways attacks would flash in the older Monster Hunter games.
Yeah, no, I mean reading the enemy is a big part of both these games. It's definitely the gameplay is very dissimilar in some ways because Monster Hunter is more higher focus on just being that action game kind of thing, but the way they like kind of went off on their own paths and their RPG aspects, especially because
Well, I'm just talking like mostly just in terms of just a player experience and just the
oh yeah, absolutely
fighting the enemies. That's one thing that I think is kind of cool to compare between the two of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it is too.
It's funny because when Wilds, I think one of the things that one of the phenomenon that well, it's not really a phenomenon, but like feature, we'll call it a feature, that you are referring to, Justin, is something called hit stop. And
oh yeah, of course,
hit stop is something that they initially removed from the game, and it was not present in the first beta for the new one. So many people wanted it back.
That why would they remove it? That's like, I'd be right there with them.
If you've ever watched Sakurai's video on hit stop, if you've not, you should, for one thing. But the amount of game feel hit stop adds, like in a way of like that adds impact to your blows. It is a combination of things, but animation, the quality of like the sound, and hit stop, all huge things that make a big impact on actual feeling, the visceral feeling of swinging a weapon in a game at something a lot, or whatever it may be. Anything that has an impact. Exactly.
It makes a big impact on impact.
Exactly.
And you're completely correct. Because like when you have the great sword, and you are doing a true charge slash, which is just the big, like when you bring that great sword down with like all of your might, and it's like the hardest hitting attack in the game, and it just glides right through the monster. There's nothing satisfying about that. But when that blade makes contact and you get that oomph from it, it is so satisfying that every time I've managed to do it, I squeal a little, just a little bit. Like I go, yeah.
This actually brings up something that I didn't even think about when we were going into this, but I remember when I was described, before I played Xenogears or Xenosaga, how I was described, oh, they're like an RPG, but they've got these combos like a fighting game. And it's funny because in that same sense, there's like, yeah, when you really get into, you can just swing your weapon or whatever in Monster Hunter, but when you really get into it, there are so many techniques that become like combos. You have to learn like combos in a fighting game, and there's a lot of combos with a lot of those weapons that require a lot of different button inputs, the same way as you would do that string of button inputs in any of the Xeno games in a way. Like every single one of them has this focus on combos that made them different in a lot of ways from, a lot of other RPGs out there. And even to Xenoblade, they've taken that, they've gone to an arts palette, of course, but there is still a sense of, you want to start with this, you want to go to this, you want to go to this, to chain a combo to get the optimal damage output. And given, there's a lot of games that do this in some way, but just that emphasis and the depth of the battle system, the ways in which you learn it, there's some definite similarities, I feel, there between Monster Hunter and the Xeno series in just terms of that. As far as being an action RPG oriented thing that has like a deep and like fulfilling combat, like combo system in its combat. So just to add that, it just came to mind.
Yeah, good points. I want to jump back to characters and their weapons. So, Mio read to me as a dual blades main. Dunban from Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is a longsword scrub and needs to get good. I'm just kidding. If you're a longsword user, I love you. Please.
Hey, if you ever used longsword back in the old games, it was hell. You'd swing the thing, you wait for 3 seconds to pick it back up. It was horrible. And also, you had to aim. So oh my gosh, I remember playing that in 4 Generations and killing Calby is the name of the deer things, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Calby.
It was the hardest fucking thing just to hit a single one with that goddamn thing. Oh my god. It was
I don't envy him.
And that's just supposed to be fodder, like that's just supposed to be stuff. I was like, I need this for, to prepare myself, and I'm like, I can't even hit these fucking things.
Longsword trauma dump.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, is them staggering me while I'm trying to get my big bang combo off. But
meanwhile, Dumbbound's over here just like dispatching people,
That's why I was saying, like, if you're a longsword user, I love you. Please get the tail off for me. I can't do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So
I give headaches, not haircuts.
Yeah, I give haircut. I give headaches. I don't get the tail. So somebody wrote here, Shion is a sword and shield main, close to Charge Blade in that way.
Well, Xeon from 3 as well.
Oh, Xeon.
Oh, Xeon. Okay.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, that's why you were saying Shion. Okay, sorry. We had a mistake in the notes. I'm like, well, I guess you could say that that's kind of a sword and shield that Shion has too, but it's more of just a sword.
Sorry, I forgot all about Xeon.
Yeah, no, it's real fans here. No, I'm kidding. I was trying to think of a parallel for Melia, but that's kind of like really tough to do. The closest
Melia
thing
is really magic oriented, and there's really no like magic.
Well, I'll just tell you what I came up with, and I didn't write it down because I thought it was stupid. It was like, the closest thing I can think of with shooting the elementals out is the insect glaive with the marking stuff, but that's really not that close.
I was kind of thinking, like, if we're reaching, and I mean we're reaching,
then it's super reaching, yeah.
So
also, just on the Mio and by extension Nia thing, the dual blades they use are dual blades, but they are chakrams. Just
yes,
putting that out.
It's just the closest thing I could think
exactly.
Of.
No, I just wanted to make
there's probably a character that we're completely overlooking that like actually does use dual blades.
Elma?
And
there's Elma.
like that's even a weapon type in this game.
Yep, it is. It is.
Curses.
I just didn't get around to writing it down yet, so
I haven't played yet.
I was gonna bring it up anyway.
Also, even that. Also, doesn't like Fiora use dual blades too?
I don't remember, man.
Yeah.
She absolutely has.
She does. She does.
Yep.
I was gonna say there's a dual blade in a lot of these games, so.
All right, well then we have our dual blade mains.
But I would say that the chakrams, the way they're used, that would count too in a similar way. They're the movement behind them is similar enough. So yeah, you were on the right track either way with that take.
Juniper is the only bow main I could think of. I can't think of anyone else who strictly uses like bow and arrow from the franchise. Let's see. Uni and Sharla, this was an interesting one. They use the heavy bow gun with the wyvern snipe, but they use healing ammo, and they really, really should not be using the healing ammo. As a tactic that is very frowned upon, you could be an additional DPS as opposed to worrying about healing, and also if you miss and accidentally hit the monster with your healing ammo, you could accidentally heal it. So, Uni, Sharla, just pop some regular ammunition in there and get on it.
I can do a little bit of that too. But yeah, in Xenoblade it's much more necessary to have healing ammo. But if they were in Monster Hunter, you're right.
And I think Shulk is probably great sword. Like that's but when I think about it, you wouldn't say switch axe for Shulk, would you, Nick?
I was kind of thinking about that because like great sword seems a little big for what the Monado kind of is.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. But the Monado can also get really big. Like
that is true. That gives it more of a switch axe edge to me. I feel like, or yeah, I feel like that's a little closer in some ways to switch axe because the switch axe's main thing is it gets bigger, kind of thing.
Yeah, and again, this is a reach. Fully acknowledging that this one's kind of a reach. Noah was an interesting one. We came to the conclusion that Noah's more of a charge blade, really, because he can use his weapon inside its sheath, and we thought that was really, really cool. But
in
yeah,
fact, that's its main mode, is in the sheath, is just he swings it as a whole, and like if it comes out as the Lucky 7, like just the actual blade, it's like much more like, oh yeah, no, but it is a transforming thing, and it's like you could argue even that it being in that sheath and only used for special occasions outside of it is it charging.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
you know,
I will say,
yeah,
even though it's not really a shield, but you know,
it's not really a shield.
The Monato's kind of interesting because, like, didn't it act like a hammer in Xenoblade 2? Or did it have the same?
The only Monato I remember in Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
No, you can get the Monato in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because Shulk's a blade. So,
yeah. There's also also if you argue that the Aegises are a form of Monato, you know, you could make that as well.
Right, but
I'm trying to
remember because I remember like the Monato acted in a way that was like weird compared to the first game.
Oh, he does have like that shield bass style art with
like,
it.
I'm pretty sure like it acted like the shield hammer.
Yeah, I think you could make that.
Or I don't know. I could be misremembering that, but I do remember that the that Shulk was really weird in 2 because of that, because like it just wasn't like his playstyle in 1 at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Shulk was even a tank class too.
That's wild.
Yeah, they did some crazy stuff into. There was a lot of
like it was really weird.
Y'all making me want to go back and pop that game back in, but I got too many other games to get to.
You know what I really want them to put in Monster Hunter though, weapon wise, transforming weapon wise, especially. We need those Bridget Morag blades, or the whipped blades. That'd be some.
Oh, that would be so sick.
That'd be cool as hell.
I agree. Like swords that transform into whips.
We're giving Capcom free ideas. That's all I'm saying.
I wonder who did it first, because I know Ivy from Soul Calibur uses that weapon and has used that weapon for like the longest amount of time.
They are vaguely based on real world weaponry, actually, but they're not really.
Shit?
Yeah, there's like I think it's an Indian sword. It's got like a malleable metal, and it's like one of the most dangerous things you can possibly fight with. You can look up a video of it on YouTube. I can't remember the name of those things, but it is a bendable sword, and you like whip it around in front of you, like, and it's. I can't imagine anyone making it through a fight with those that wasn't professional people doing it for show that wouldn't just cut everyone's limbs off because it looks insane.
Also, I just looked up Monato on the wiki, and the Monato is listed as an attacker role on the wiki, so we'll go.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't remember it being a tank.
Yeah, I remember it was really. I remember it being. Weird.
It was weird.
Yeah,
wasn't there like some weird? Oh no, it was Fiora was a healer in that one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
You guys just added this into the notes just now, but yeah, that's crazy because you're 100% right. The Turkins and the Salt Tats from Xenoblade are hunting horn main monsters.
Yeah, I did that a while ago. Yeah,
that's
absolute hunting horn.
You're 100% right, though. Like that is actually the closest thing I could think of to the hunting horn that you find in
the noise even reminds me of it. Yeah, the noise even reminds me of it. You know.
Yeah, you're spot on with that comparison, actually. And one so another thing that kind of like I don't know, I want to say it inspired this episode, but it was definitely like in the back of my mind is recently I was hanging out with Robin, and I was watching Robin play Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I noticed that there were a shocking number of similarities to compared to what he was doing to what some things that you do in Monster Hunter, where you go out into your environment and you basically forage for materials as well as hunt monsters, and then you craft things from the monsters that you hunt. So it was really funny because I was looking at him going, so what you're saying is that you hunt these monsters, and when you take them down you carve their parts and make things with those parts. Yeah, that sounds an awful lot like something else that I play.
You want a funny anecdote on this?
Yeah, go for it.
So whenever I was, I think I'm trying to remember. Was this still Nintendo Power around? No, it wouldn't have been. I was reading some previews on somewhere. I can't remember exactly where at the time, but when we first found out about Xenoblade Chronicles X, and we first saw the screenshots of it, the journalists were describing this one. They're like, it's going to be very different. It's going to feel a bit more like Monster Hunter, is the way they were actually putting it back then.
I'm not surprised.
Wild.
And like that, they're like, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be built more like custom, and you're going to do this and that. The game loop is looking to be a lot more like Monster Hunter, and like that's actually what they were like saying at the time.
Man, I if that's the case, I really need to get on this game. But I'm probably gonna wait for that Switch too, so I can play it at 60 frames per second.
Hey,
it's unofficial.
It's also been a crazy. It's been a crazy year. We had a Monster Hunter come out brand new, almost back to back, like only not even a month apart from this Xenoblade game. So, I get it. I know how big a fan you are, so.
And let me tell you, it's really good. Like, if you for those who haven't played Wilds yet or are on the fence about it, it's great. It's gorgeous. It's a lot of fun. They've actually addressed a lot of the long time issues that there have been outstanding with the series. Like, Monster Hunter fights can sometimes drag on for a really long time, and I don't feel like they do as much anymore. I noticed that during my virgin playthrough of the game that I was cleaning up fights in anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes as opposed to 15 to 30. If a monster was like really big and tanky, sometimes it would go on longer, but like those instances were few and far between. The difficulty curve and scale is very fair, and it's a great place to jump in if you've never played the series before. This is not sponsored. It's not a commercial. I just love to have more people play with, and also I would love to see like more people give this series a shot because it is really, really good. My Hunter ID is 8V48D4 and 9 at me. Anyway, so
I'll get on it.
If you keep making the distinction that we're not a commercial, we'll have to say that every podcast, to be honest. So
yeah, I'll just put it in the show notes like I usually do.
Have at you.
And also, we kind of jumped over this one, and that's my fault. But cooking, I noticed that you can cook in more recent Xenoblade games, and you also cook in Monster Hunter. And in both games, your eyes are treated to some umptuous-looking video game food porn. And my God, if the food in Wilds doesn't make you hungry, I don't know what will. It just looks so damn good. And apparently they spent a lot of time making it look good. And the food in Xenoblade looks great too. And in both series, the purpose behind cooking is actually to temporarily impact your stats, or I think
it's pretty much buffs.
Yeah, it's buffs. It's buffs.
Yeah. Very RPG thing so these days in general, but it's there.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah, I saw the Wilds video with the cheese pole, and I'm like, oh my God, that's some next gen cheese pole.
Yeah.
God, we thought it was looking amazing in Worlds, and just like, as much as that RE engine can make like some really gross looking guts, it can also make some really delicious fucking food.
Yeah, so I was just about to say, because I was muted, I was going to ask if this is RE engine. So, you know what probably happened? they saw everybody make memes of the burger from Resident Evil 2, and we're like, oh, we need to like go all in on this. and then that's what they did with Wilds.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I think this is the first one on the RE engine, I think, because I'm pretty sure Worlds was on MT Framework still.
I think that Rise might have been RE engine.
Oh, Rise may. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Rise was, yes.
I think Rise might have been, but
I think you might be right there.
Also in Rise, you don't eat food you eat. I mean, you do eat food. It technically qualifies as a food, but it's bunny dango. It's that adorable, wondrous Japanese dessert that is the single most disappointing thing I have ever
three balls.
eaten.
I
love the animation, but dango itself
so
is just
cute. The song is so lovely, but my
just
God,
silly dough.
Dango is just dango doesn't taste like anything. Like it. Like I went into this thinking like when I actually made dango, because of the game, I was like, oh, this is gonna taste so good. This is gonna be so awesome, and it is literally a vessel for whatever paste or topping you want to put on it, but the dango itself does not taste like anything.
Did you bomb that dango?
No, I did it right, but yeah, it's one of those things where it definitely looks better than it tastes.
Yeah, I've had some decent dango, but usually there's red bean involved as well.
Yes,
and it really depends on how much you like red bean or something.
I love red bean, but again, it's really just a vessel. The dango itself is really just a vessel for whatever topping you put on it. Like I went into this thinking that each dumpling was going to be pillowy and sweet and like have a unique flavor. And you can add some flavorings to the dough. I just that's not what you'd call traditional.
Oh, yeah.
I also think they work better when they're smaller too. Like definitely don't make them big.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was also one of my mistakes, was that I made them very big. They're colorful. They're beautiful to look at. Like IRL, I gotta see if I can find the pictures. If I can, I'll throw them in the channel, and that maybe Tyler can throw them.
I can mess with some Mitsuda dango all day, every day. I love that.
Yeah, little ones are really good. Like I don't forget what company. Robin usually gets them. I think I don't know how to pronounce it, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
those are so good.
Those are pretty good ones.
Yeah. But
and as I was checking on Wiki on the games developed using RE engine list, Rise is listed here.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even think about Rise because I was thinking about World for a second. Then I was like, oh yeah, Rise would obviously have been right. But yeah, I think World was the last one made on MT framework as far as this series goes.
Yeah, I don't see World on here, so.
But Rise was also a bit more scaled down in some ways to run on everything. But wow, it still looks really good.
It's black magic as far as I'm concerned. What they did to get Rise to run on the Switch as well as it does, to look as well as it does, and then when you obviously play it on PC, the PC is clearly like going to be the optimal version. But
I was convinced that they traded for some like Nintendo insider secrets to get that port on Switch, because it looks as good or better than a lot of first party games.
Yeah,
it's insane.
I completely agree with you. It's when I started playing it for the first time, I genuinely couldn't believe that we had something that was I would say it was comparable to World. Like, it looked fine to me.
Yeah, no, it looked great.
I personally didn't have any gripes with the performance or the graphics of the Switch. It did the job just fine. I did eventually switch to PC because that's just where more of my friends were going to be playing, but
online. I mean,
and also free online. There's a million other reasons, but what they did with Rise is similar to, I guess, the same kind of sorcery that they pulled with Xenoblade Chronicles DE to get those environments to look as incredible and majestic as they are. I always say this, but limitation is the greatest like fuel for creativity. I think that one of the reasons why video game music was at its best when we were kids is because they were very limited with what they could do, so they had to get super creative with it. And I think that when it comes to like things like the graphical output of the Switch, it's obviously not the most powerful, but they have to get creative to make things look good. And they made some truly incredible, awe-inspiring sights in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, 3, and in Monster Hunter Rise. Like, there are some genuinely breathtaking shots of the environments in all 4 of these games.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because as someone who just yesterday even was trying to describe just like one of the big draws of the Xenoblade genre, like, or just like an open world to me in general, but like because we were on the note of Xenoblade X talking about it, I was like, this is one of my favorite open worlds. This is probably my favorite open world design of all time because of how fantastical they get with these environments. And one of the only other franchises that came to the top of my head as far as series that made environments quite on a level that even gets similar to that, I was like, Monster Hunter actually has like that coral forest and stuff, and like world and stuff like that. Like
Coral Highlands is one.
Yeah, the Coral Highlands. That stuff is like, that feels like something you'd almost see in a Xenoblade. Like
yes, 100%. It is absolutely incredible. Like, some of the views in these games, both of these franchises, are just genuinely so breathtaking. Though I do think that I'll never forget the first time I was at like the highest point in the Aerith Sea, and I saw the meteor shower for the first time. Like, that was one of the few times in my life where I was just so awestruck by the majesty of my surroundings that I stopped and I just vibed to enjoy the setting. And I've been playing video games all of my life, like since I was 2 years old, and I think that might have been one of the first times I've ever done that. If not the first, it was one of the first.
Yep. It's awesome.
Another thing I'm just like kind of curious on, because again, don't know much about Monhun. Is there an element of building up whatever town or community you're in?
Kind of. So
I feel like it's usually kind of more like things open up a little bit more as you go, not that they're not necessarily there in most cases. Is that
that's
right?
Kind of the thing in like almost all the Xenoblade games, there's some element of like developing the civilization to a certain degree. Like, I mean, in Xenoblade. I was gonna say, like, you can go.
In the new one,
yeah.
As you explore more regions, you build camps in those regions, and you also have the ability of building little pop-up camps.
I've heard about
which are like mini camps. But as far as like building up like a big city or anything, it's not really so much adding to it. But as you progress, more and more features get added. So
or developed, yeah.
The most comparable one I could say to answer your question is the answer is yes. Is it to the scale that I think you're envisioning? I don't think so. But in world, as you progress through the story, Astera gets not bigger physically, but you do see it undergo changes that imply that you are helping Astera progress and grow. And those features that grow as you do serve you in the game. So one example I can think of is the cantina. Every so often, I think there's a total of 2 evolutions. So you start the game, the canteen is at level 1, and then there's a level 2 and level 3. Every time it progresses, you see more meats hanging from the wires. There are more I think there are more cats who are cooking. The cutscene where they prepare the food changes, and the offerings look a little bit better. It's things like that. So the little aspects do kind of like grow, and while the physical location may not actually get bigger, you do gain a sense of, I am building this place up.
Yeah. I feel like that's what I experienced there too on that one. It's kind of, well, I mean, also like just the thing of it is very, like Monster Hunter in general tends to be typically kind of focused around, much like in Xenoblade Cross X, there is a part of it that is development of things there, but also this scientific understanding of the environment around you when presented in a new environment, because these stories kind of tend to be like, oh, we're trying to settle things here. We need to go out and understand what's going on around us. So there is that,
Justin, I do think that there are things about this franchise that you would genuinely enjoy, especially with the new one. And if you ever are interested in giving it a shot, I would love to play it with you.
I will. Okay, I have one thing about the new one. As someone who's not played it yet, but has watched a bit of it and some things like that, my one concern coming from older Monster Hunters, and it's not a huge thing, but I am not sure how I'm going to feel about the streamlining of the searching part. Not that I don't think the highlight is fighting the monsters, but there was a part of me that always kind of liked the build up to finding them, to getting to them, and to just know, like you go out, you do a bit of gathering, you get your stuff together, and then you get on like a scent, you get on a trail, and now I've heard that it does a lot of that for you, and I don't know how I'm going to feel about that yet. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to love the game in the end either way, but I'm still not sure if taking that much of the hunting aspect as opposed to just the fighting aspect, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it yet. I'm a little on the fence about that side of things, but we'll see.
If it helps at all. I enjoyed that feature from World. That they kind of did away with it in Rise. Like not enough.
They did a bit.
Not enough people are. A lot of people are pointing the fingers at Wilds for this, but they low key got rid of that in Rise. Not.
They definitely streamlined it even more in some ways, but yeah, you are right. Yeah.
But as somebody who did enjoy the hunting aspect of the game, I will note that as you progressed in Monster Hunter World, you kind of just as you did more tracking and whatnot, whenever you would go to refight a monster or whatever, it would just immediately point you in the direction of where the monster was anyway. So
after you enough, you could just you didn't have to fight it very much. You could just see it on your map moving, even in that. So it's not the biggest deal, but there was a part of me that like worries about
going it. I guess.
I guess, yeah.
I would say that I haven't missed it. That's me personally thing. Like it's not something where I feel like I've been like, God, I really miss tracking the monster.
Yeah. They still run though, right?
They do. They still.
Okay, so that's part of it.
They will run away. They run away less than they used to. Which I also kind of prefer, because sometimes them running would be kind of frustrating and it would break the flow of the fight a little bit.
But there was really a part of me that loved the realism of it too.
Yes,
in some ways.
And don't get me wrong, they still do. It's just more like they don't as much. So it's like, it's not like they take a set amount of damage and then they run. So I think you'll be okay with it.
I think I will, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think we've hit the end of our notes here. This has been a lot of fun. I could go on and I could talk about this for we'd be here all night.
Maybe we'll have to have a sequel episode.
Yeah, I would love that. And maybe after I play Xenoblade Chronicles X, and then I come back and I angrily say, okay, so here's all of the missed opportunities I had because I hadn't played this game yet, and this is how all of this game and all the comparisons I can draw between this and Monster Hunter. But
my hope is that it gives you a deeper understanding of Xenoblade X when you're playing it.
Honestly, like I'm wondering, like, is this really like is my knowledge of Monster Hunter going to impact me in a positive or negative way when I go into Xenoblade Chronicles X?
Right.
Imagine learning about a whole new set of monsters in a different world.
It's almost like it's a different game.
Yeah, I know, right? It's almost like they're in different franchises that shouldn't be
Exactly.
compared, but here we are on April 1st doing it anyway.
All right, well then let's all head off and play some Xenoblade X.
Agreed. I encourage anyone in the midst of playing to look in your inventory for an item called a collectible called Gormless Monkey. I forgot about it. It's my new favorite thing in that. It's my new old favorite thing in that game to collect.
I'll when I get around to it, I'll look for it. But
I just love that it's called Gormless Monkey, and I wanted to mention it, especially in the episode where we're talking about monkeys.
Okay.
Big monkey.
All right.
Hey, Justin, Tyler, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you both for having me on.
No problem. And thanks everyone for joining, and have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bye bye.